years ago. Loved living here, loved Danville, loved the park and everything about this place. Why, as luck would have it, when we left in December the 7th this year, we had a water leak, and it leaked the entire time we were gone. It leaked for 6 months. The town went out at first and notified us that we had it and told us we had a leak within the house, and we have a house sitter, and he couldn't find it. And I lived with the thought all winter that I was going to have to tear up the yard when I got back. But that didn't happen. I got good help from the employee here at the water department determining where our leak was. I've got some copies of my correspondence with the town I'd like to give you.
Thank you. Whoops. And Mr. Lewis, just so you know, I had provided them with this information beforehand, so they've had time to
great.
review
Well,
it. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
After you and I spoke,
thank
Mark and
you.
I provided them with this information in their packets, so they have everything except your letter.
I would like to just make 3 points. I'll stay under the 3 minutes. Jim, you're my target. Take these points home with you. When I first read this response from the water company, only give me credit for 2 months, and it went on for 6 months. I called and asked why, and the answer was, well, we never refund more than 1 or 2 months. Well, I didn't think that was fair, and that's why I'm here. Also, I have a question about the when they can't get out to read your meter, they estimate your bill. Well, when we're away, we only pay minimum bills. And if they estimate it, we get a higher bill. And I don't understand that. So that happened to me several years ago. So the next year, I just had them take the meter out for 5 months, and that took care of that problem. But last year, we decided to have a sitter, a house sitter. And this year, we had one. And of course, we had to leave the water on. So we expected, though, that this was one person being there, not all the time, but we would still just pay a minimum water bill. And also, I have a question about the adjustments. When I said, well, you only gave me credit for 2 months and not the 6, and it doesn't reflect the numbers I had in my mind for those 2 months. And they said, well, we use adjustments. So my question is, do those adjustments just arbitrarily decrease your refund? And do you really get credit for those times that they come out and or don't come out and just estimate your bill? So that's that point. And the last point I'd like to make to you, Jim, when Fred Brown came out in April, he came out with his device, and he had it hooked up. I had requested a new meter because I was just searching for an answer. And he informed me I didn't need a new meter. And he had his device hooked up to the meter and explained that it wasn't sure of how it worked, and I understood that. But anyhow, if he would have come out the 1st of December and done this, because he told me just within a moment that my problem was my water softener. I said, well, how do you know that? He said, well, you're using water at 1 o'clock in the morning daily for several hours, and that thing's only supposed to work once a month. So he solved the problem right away. He helped me isolate the water softener, came back a couple more times to make sure that it was a problem. Well, you read the letter. So anyhow, I would like for you to consider should the town be a little more aggressive when you have a water leak that's going on for months at a time? Should they get out there right away? Because as a ratepayer, I don't have access to the meter for one thing. I don't have the numbers that the water department has. I don't have a device or the programming to glean the information that Fred did. So I can't do what the town can do. So I would like, Jim, for you to consider to be more aggressive, establish a policy of not letting this go on for months or months. On the last page there, you'll see that our cost for the 6 months was over $900. It should have been around $300. I'm done.
So
Questions?
let me, Mr. Lewis and I have talked several times. Jim Russell has been a part of this, and Mark as well. We have all talked a lot. And Jim Phillips got involved to help out since he is the liaison for the water department. We, in December, we did send someone out. I think that there was a scheduling conflict with your house sitter and with our employees. We work 8 to 4, and I think they had trouble, it's my understanding, coordinating, getting out there together. We do have a policy in place that when these kind of things happen with our software, it notifies us when someone has high usage, and the guys immediately go out and they look for the problem.
I was notified I believe in December by Courtney, the water department.
Yes.
That they had sent somebody out.
Correct.
And there was not a leak, that the leak was in the house. So they
Correct.
did notify me right away, but they didn't run the analysis. They just said the water wasn't leaking at the meter. And
Correct.
I'm saying they should have or could have, and maybe in the future they will run the analysis so that people can, find a leak more.
And we do, and we don't have to do that. We do that as a courtesy to our citizens. Like I said, we couldn't coordinate with your house sitter to be able to go into your house, but we did notify you in December that there was a leak. I mean this with all due respect, it's not our responsibility to determine where the leak comes from. We just try to notify you as soon as we see there's a problem. And we did try to do our best to coordinate with you to determine that it was coming from inside your home. And as soon as you got back, I think the same day or within that week, Jim Phillips and Fred Brown and Jim Russell, everybody, the whole team was on your property trying to help you.
That was in April.
Right, when you came back home.
Exactly. That was the last week of April.
Right.
They were very helpful.
So we try our best to help everybody we can to determine the problem from the
I
get-go.
understand, I appreciate that. That's just one point I'm making here.
Sure.
I think the adjustment should be for the entire 6 months. I mean, you have the data, you can figure it right to the penny.
And it's always been our policy, and like I gave you a copy of our policy, that we take the 6 months and do an average, and we adjust based upon 2 months, we adjust for 2 months, depending on how long the leak was and the severity of the leak. We adjust according. That's always been how we've done it, and we do have a policy in place, which Mark, I think, and myself provided you that.
Well, I'm here asking you to change the policy.
So then that's a council decision
Thank
on
you.
if they want to adjust.
Appreciate your idea.
Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Lewis? No, you're fine. I was just asking my counsel. For the record, I hope he keeps on winning. All right, so, Mark, is there anything you want to add to this, or are you okay?
I think we're in keeping of our current policies, and I think the water department did its due diligence.
Okay, so before us, we have a little bit of a decision here. The town policy is 2 months, which is what his bill has been adjusted to,
Correct.
and he's requesting all 6. So my question to the council is, do we change this policy for this individual, or do we keep it as is? Thoughts?
If I can insert my thought here, we've had 3 or 4 customers recently that have had, for whatever reason, problems. We have stuck with the policy. We have done 2 months adjustments. If we adjust for Mr. Lewis, we need to go back, and the other 4, I feel like, to be fair, adjust for them as well. Because it's been our practice, and Jewel, you can jump in at any point here, but it's been our practice to handle each customer the same. We do our due diligence and a research, and Jim Russell and Mark and I and Courtney sit down and review the history. We look at what factors, determine the leak and those type of things. And it's always been our practice to do how we handle Mr. Lewis. So if you guys, and I don't care which way you guys decide, I'm just letting you know that I probably, at the next meeting, am going to need to bring 4 of the last 3 months adjustments we have done for very similar situations.
As near as I could tell, some of the research I did, this goes all the way back to clerk treasurer.
Well, my opinion is very simple. I do appreciate Mr. Lewis coming in. However, I want to support our town policy and just staying with the 2 months. Something I did take away from Mr. Lewis was when he was gone for 5 months at a time, that maybe we encourage our citizens when they're gone for an extended period of time to contact the water department. And he had mentioned having his meter removed at one time. Maybe our team needs to look at that and come up with a policy, but at this point, I don't think we can I don't support making an adjustment at this point.
Prior to hearing him speak, I was in favor of probably making an adjustment. But if we're going to let him know in December that he can't have his house sitter or get somebody there to figure it out, I don't feel that's on us.
Jimmy, do you want to add anything to this?
Oh, there you are.
Typically, it wasn't a water leak, it's a malfunction of equipment. The water softening company that and found that out. What we do, when we read meters, we get a recheck, physically open the meter bit, meter, plus or negative on it. If it's got a plus, we have water. Knock on the door, we leave door hangers. If we did not have happens when his water softener was running more than normal, occasionally or computer type thing. But we do that, and then, like I say, we've saved our customers. We do that. We don't have to do that, but we do. We save our customers basically a plumber from coming to physically have a break in the line and it's going everywhere. But I encourage you to go south for the winter. We pulled meters, no charge. Pulled a meter, no issues,
And we have a lot of winter birds that do that.
yeah,
You pull the meter at no charge,
no charge.
and you reinstall the meter.
No charge.
Okay. All right.
Usually, time we get a work order, the girls are pay the girls and all this stuff, you're looking at $75 in labor process one. Do that free of charge. It's just being friendly. We don't want to have any issues. I back in 35 years ago, I remember I begged a lady to shut her water off for the winter. She did not do it. We got power outage in town. I get a phone call. We've got 6 inches of water in our house running out of the house. And she tried to blame the town. No, I don't want to have it.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
Being involved in the process, I learned these meters are fantastic, and I learned what they can do when we utilize them functionally. I don't think most of our people who use our water are aware of how valuable these meters are, what they can do, and how they can isolate a problem. And maybe we need to consider making that information available more frequently so that they understand how we can help them save money, and we don't get in these whizzing contests unnecessarily. I don't see any reason to change the policy since we're talking about an infrequency here, but I do think maybe we ought to do a little more information sharing.
Motion.
Can you have, start maybe, I don't know, October, November for
Sure.
3 months?
Sure.
Because a great way to reach people is when you get through their water bill. Put in there, hey, if you're leaving,
Like, we
please.
can put a little memo on the bill, we can put something on the town's website, Facebook page, yeah, we can, our sign out front, we can do all kinds of things. Yeah.
Okay. Need a motion here. Need some action. Okay, look, we're going to be here all night if we're not going to step up to the plate. Let me make a motion, okay? No offense, okay? To deny the extension of 6 months and keep our policy at 2 months.
Second.
And I have a motion and a second. Further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. All right, next we move on to bid opening for Stratford Ridge. Mr. Morgan?
Got Joe from Banning Engineering. We're going to go through these real quick because his child has a baseball game, and I told him I'd get him out of here for it.
And Jeopardy's on in 3 minutes.
Yes, sir. 3 minutes to watch it.
This is Grady Brothers.
Grady Brothers.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who that was.
Grady Brothers.
Grady Brothers, thank you.
I've got, Jenny, I got a little sheet here for you if you want.
Oh, perfect, that, yes, please. I need all the help I can get. Thanks, Joe. Okay. I'm ready.
Grady Brothers with a bid of $448,750.
448, 750.
Yep,
Thank you.
$448,750.
And who are they, Gray Brothers?
Grady.
Brady?
This is Baumgartner and Company.
Baumgartner and Company Asphalt Services, bid of $374,752.
Even?
And the last one is Midwest Paving. Where's it going? Where's it going?
Yeah. Good.
Of course.
Midwest Paving with a bid of $370,282.
It's the recommendation of staff that we send these bids back with Joe of Banning Engineering to go over them and find out which would be the lowest and most responsive for this project.
Okay, do we have consensus?
Yes.
We do, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Joe. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along. Ordinance 14, 2019, an ordinance to amend Ordinance 25, 2018, 2019 salaries and other compensation for officials, employees, and appointees of the town of Danville, specifically, in this case, Police Department, CSI agent. Jenny?
This, you guys have already approved at previous meetings, when we reviewed the salary of the CSI agent and her responsibilities and changing her job description. This is just allowing me to amend the salary ordinance for this year to accommodate the changes that you guys have already approved.
Okay. Ordinance 14. Any thoughts? Make a motion?
Moved.
Got a motion to approve ordinance 14, 2019. Do I have a second? Second. A second and a third. Further discussion? All those in favor of passing ordinance 14, 2019 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ordinance is passed. Street closure. Is Tracy or Kevin here? Hi.
Thank you for your time and attention. We are planning another world-famous North Washington Street block party, and we would like to close the street in front of our homes. It's a one-block area. Access around it is fairly simple. You go one block east or west and shoot around and come right back into Washington Street. All the neighbors that with driveways involved are approving and happy to be doing such a thing. So we're just requesting that. I think I put down maybe 4 to 10. I can't remember exactly what hours
3
we
to
put
11.
down. 3 to 11 to do a little setup and clean up.
Have you had a chance to talk with the police or streets? fire,
I
to ma-
have
To make
not.
sure that everything's okay?
I
know
have
you've done
not.
this in the past.
I haven't personally, I don't think I've closed down a street. Maybe I have. But I didn't know we needed to do that. But I'm happy to do that if I need to.
Now, Mr. President, if you like.
I think that would be great.
Anybody have an issue with this street closure for this all radius?
Okay, well, let's do this then. Rather than do a quick conversation, Tracy, can you come back at our next meeting?
Sure.
Or, yes, and get with those guys. We want to make sure everything's,
Okay. I'm just going to ask one more favor. Is there any way to get can we get approval based upon the approval of the safety? Just because we're getting a little bit close, and we want to be able to get people notified and make our plan if possible. If that's not possible, that's fine. We'll work around it.
And police are okay with it, just waiting on Public Works. Up to you, Ray.
apparently they can make it work for you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, but you will need to get with them so you can show them exactly what you want.
Okay.
Okay? And I know that you've shown us where traffic can go roundabout. It should be noted too that this is going to be on a Saturday, okay, in July, on July 13th, okay? And all your neighbors are good with this?
Yes.
No one's going to complain,
Nobody will complain.
okay?
What's the name of the band?
Actually, the name of our party is Woodstock on Washington. We're
I
going
see
with
that.
a
You don't have a
Woodstock
band?
theme with the 50th. No, we're going to be having a lip sync contest. So we'll have numerous musical entertainment available, and anybody who wants to come and do a little lip sync, you're welcome. You know where the party is.
You don't have the Who or Country Joe and the Fish or?
We may. Show up and see.
Okay, what's the thought of the council? Should we go ahead and approve this based on the recommendation of street, fire, and police?
I make a motion, we approve it.
Got a motion to okay the street closure. Do I have a second?
Second.
I've got a second. Any further discussion? Do you have a rain date, or is it go or no go?
No, we don't have a rain date. We'll have to come back for that.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Public Works vehicle purchase.
Oh, yeah, because you're part of it. Thank you.
As I come before you here tonight, I'm requesting a departmental expenditure request in the amount of $22,051.30 for the purchase of a 2019 Silverado truck for the DPW. I have a signature from Mark and from Jenny, so the funds are available.
Funds are available.
He has sufficient funds. He has a balance of $34,895 in that account currently.
All right. Any questions for Ray? What's the pleasure of council? Approve this-
I'll make a motion for the approval of $22,051.30 for a new Silverado for Public Works.
Got a motion to approve the purchase. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, probably the highlight of our evening. I know you've all been waiting for it for the last 6 months. My personal apologies to the builder, to the church, and to the neighbors for this taking 6 months. But here we are. And this is ordinance number 13, 2019, an ordinance of the town of Danville rezoning certain territory. We've talked about this ad nauseum. It has been it's been approved by the plan board to rezone this to a PUD from an R1, is that correct? Okay. What is the wishes of the council? Stewed about this for 6 months. Land Commission and our town administrators have said that they think this is a good idea. Okay, let's do something here, people, okay? Do I have a motion to approve ordinance number 13? Otherwise, it's going to die for lack of a movement, and it'll remain R1. Is that correct? Council?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is one of those different types of ordinances, so
Okay.
You need to specifically have action to defeat it. So if no action is taken within 90 days of the advice of the commission, then it's as if that opinion of the commission has been accepted.
Okay.
If a item fails for lack of a second or a motion, that is considered under case law as no action.
Okay.
And therefore, it would proceed as if it was passed after 90 days, as if no action was taken. The only way to defeat the ordinance would be to have a specific motion to, against the recommendation of the commission, and then take vote at that time.
Okay, thank you. Then I stand corrected. Thank you. So, with that clarification, I don't get this kind of silence in my classroom. I kind of like that.
I've done my research. I don't like the traffic out there, the increased traffic. But in the last 365 days, we've had 171 homes sell in Danville under $200,000 range. Of that, 55 were under the $150,000 range. So there are affordable homes. So I can't take that as an argument. So I'm going to make a motion that we keep it to an R1.
Okay, so your motion is to deny ordinance number 13.
Yes.
Second.
I have a motion to deny ordinance number 13, 2019, rezoning this property from a PUD, rezoning from an R1 to a PUD. Further discussion? All right, let's do a roll call on this. Mr. Nguyen?
Aye.
Aye to reject. Mr. Pato?
Aye.
Aye to reject. Mr. Gerald?
Aye.
Aye to reject. Mr. Phillips? Nay. And I will vote aye to reject. The ordinance has been rejected 4-1. Capital request from the Water Department. Jamie, Water Department.
Can you bring that for the total? I didn't bring my paper with me. Good evening. Tonight I'm requesting funding for part of our master plan, water master plan for the town of Danville. What we're proposing to do is put 2 test wells in the park area, basically to monitor groundwater and to see availability, what we have for future usage in the town of Danville. Currently met with Will and the Baston Logan and with our engineering firm that the site's located. We're going to put the 2 test holes will be by the Rotary, where the Rotary gazebo is in that area there, and then also across the footbridge into the Blanton Woods area in the field back in the back for monitoring wells. These wells will be typically a driven well. I don't know if a lot of you guys knew about the old
driven wells with the old Bucyrus rig pounding it in, 6-inch wells. They will have monitoring devices on it. Basically, as we're using water during the year, these will monitor the groundwater levels and everything as we're pulling water. And so we know what's recharge and everything like that so we know what's out there for the growth of the town of Danville. And naturally, if there's no sufficient amount of water that can be regenerated, naturally, we have a cap on water supply, may limit to the size of the town of Danville. So that's what we want to look at, what our future is going to be for the next 20 years. And that's what the purpose of these test wells will be, stick in the ground and see if there's any more available water out there for the future of the town.
How big a footpad will this be?
It's just a 6-inch well.
Okay.
So it's just a casing, typically, and we'll try to keep it from getting destructed or anything like that. We'll put some barriers around it, I guess, to protect that. And naturally, how far up will we have the casing, Kent? Probably a couple feet? Yeah, 2 to 3 feet up in the air on that there. Okay. But if we get funding this tonight, they're planning on being out here around the week of the 17th of this month to start putting it in. And then I welcome anybody that wants to see how a driven well is constructed, come on down and have your earplugs in, because it gets kind of loud when they start pounding, but pound that casing in. But typically when they start pounding, they're going to take soil samples to see how much clay and rock and sand and gravel is in. We've got projected to possibly go down to 180 feet below the surface. Usually that's about where the end of the bedrock is. The bottom, that's about it. So other than that, that's pretty much what we're trying to do here for part of our master plan.
Will, any problems with them going down to that lower field?
We talked about going to have to do some trimming to get the rig in, but I think it's good.
Yeah, when we looked at the stipulations for, how we gained really there's only stipulations on the top 20 acres. Nothing can be put, pretty much the wood.
Yeah. When we went down the drive off of Washington Street, we took the field all the way down, and where the footbridge comes out, we're probably 75 feet from the footbridge on that. Yeah. It's more accessible right there, and frankly, when we were looking, the aquifer typically on the geology of it's kind of like a long, thin area, and we didn't want to go too far out of bounds. We want to try to stay within them confines there in that area to hopefully.
Now, will that pipe stay there for?
It's permanent.
Permanent. Okay.
Permanent. The only way after later on, if say we find enough water in future expansion, put another well in and another water facility there, those wells can be either used for monitoring or we do well abandonment procedures. Typically, you fill it where the screen area is back with pea gravel, and then you use bentonite clay to fully seal it up, and then a concrete cap to fully seal that well off. That's what we've done in our old wells. And the thing, that's according to DNR, that's how you do proper well abandonment. And like that, you don't want to get anything in it. But typically, those would be good for monitoring. I would suggest probably leave them in. And they would be, especially if you build a new facility around that, they would be within that facility. All that there.
Okay. Jenny, he has money in his account?
He does. He has sufficient funds, and Mark and I are both approve.
Okay. It's a pleasure of the council. Do we accept this expenditure request?
I make a motion to approve it.
Got a motion to approve the expenditure request of $39,178. Do I have a second? Second. Got a second. Further discussion? Hopefully it doesn't get rained out so they can get a truck back there.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Get drilling. Give us a call when they're getting ready to drill. Sure will. I'll bring my class down there. All right, food and beverage tax resolution. This is a first reading. This is ordinance number 12, 2019. Jenny, before you get going on this, this has been a long time coming for the citizens of Danville. We have tried for many years to get the blessings of the Indiana General Assembly to be able to ask the town of Danville if they would adopt this 1% food and beverage tax. We will be having a separate meeting for public input on June 17th at 7 o'clock in this room. And The money is specifically earmarked for parks, trails, sidewalks, street, and parking improvements to support tourism in the town of Danville and for the economic development purposes, including the pledge of money under Indiana Code 5-1-14-4 for bonds, leases, and other obligations for economic development purposes. Jenny, go ahead.
The only thing I really have to add is I want to thank Ann with TAF Law. I want to thank the whole TAF Law team. Everybody worked really hard for this. Like Mike said, I've been with the town 10 years, and since the day I started, this has always been something we've been working on. And so I want to thank TAF Law, the council, the previous council, and the management team for the town of Danville that made this happen. Anywhere in the county that you go and eat, you're already paying this 1%. It's just something that finally is going to be able to come to Danville, and we will be able to utilize exactly what Mike said for the trails and streets and sidewalks, everything that everybody wants to see happen. So that's all I have to add.
Okay, so we'll mark this introduced, and we'll have our public meeting on the 17th, 7 o'clock, this room.
What you'll see is, you'll see two separate meetings for that evening, one to immediately follow the 7 o'clock meeting that will only deal with the food and beverage.
So that first meeting will take public comment on this particular ordinance. Then when we're done with public comment, we'll close that meeting, and then we'll open the regular town meeting. So you get a twofer. All right, gun violence resolution. Ms. Morgan, you want me to go ahead and read this, or do you want to?
Be great if you'd like to, sir.
That's what I live for.
And it would be.
All right. This is a proclamation declaring the first Friday in June to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day. This proclamation declares that the first Friday in June to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the town of Danville, Indiana, to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence, and to declare that we as a country must do more to reduce gun violence. Whereas every day 100 Americans are killed by gun violence, and on average there are nearly 13,000 gun homicides every year, and whereas Americans are 25 times more likely to be killed with guns than people in other high-income countries, and whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is the town manager's highest responsibilities, whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from the people with dangerous histories, and whereas town managers and law enforcement officers know their communities best, are the most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe, and whereas in January 2013, Haida Pendleton, a teenager who marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade, was tragically shot and killed just 2 weeks later, should be now celebrating her 22nd birthday, and whereas to help honor Haida and the 100 Americans, I hope I said that name right, whose lives were cut short, and the countless survivors who are injured by shootings every day, a national coalition of organizations has designated June 7th, 2019, the first Friday in June, as the 5th National Gun Violence Awareness Day, whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Haida's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods, and orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life, and whereas anyone can join the campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 7th, the first Friday of June 2019, to help raise awareness about gun violence. Whereas by wearing orange on June 7th, 2019, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. And whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and to encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of Danville declares the first Friday in June 7th, 2019, to be the National Gun Violence Awareness Day. I encourage all citizens to support their local community's efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is a beautiful idea. I just don't like the way this proclamation is written, so I cannot support it, but I do support the idea of reducing gun violence. I just want you all to be aware of my reasons for it. It's not written to my satisfaction. Okay, having said that, we have a proclamation.
Can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
So I support the Second Amendment. I think a lot of these proclamations tend to pick away at that. Second Amendment, maybe people don't know, was to give us a capability of tyranny, of fighting tyranny in the government, not to protect our homes, not to go hunting. And I strongly believe in the Second Amendment. I feel our laws that our police have are adequate. I am sitting here telling you that I don't really like these kind of proclamations because no matter what they say in the verbiage, they always say gun violence, gun violence. Well, what I would rather support would be somebody talking about mental illness, mental health, and sitting here saying a day that we start mental hospitals. We got rid of mental hospitals a long time ago. The largest mental hospital in Illinois is Cook County Jail. So I feel if I had a proclamation here to say we have a problem with gun violence and we should actually support mental health and the establishments of better institutions to take care of people that are mentally ill. And not just to say guns. And every time we say guns and people say the problem is guns, let's take them away. And I don't believe in that. I support that Second Amendment and the laws of the country that the police support. And I would like to support mental illness, health.
Anyone else?
I couldn't agree more with Mr. Pato. %.
Anyone want to support this particular proclamation? Okay, hearing none. Will not support this particular proclamation. All right, public comment. Anything from the public tonight? Thank you.
Can you spell your last name for me? Can you step up to the microphone, please? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. And if you could spell your last name.
Yes, it's Carlin, Carlin.
Thank you.
And I live at 477 Parkview Drive.
Thank you.
And this isn't to take guns away. This is to keep people safe. And we have a lot of the Department of Public Health people. What just happened in Virginia Beach? I've read a lot of articles written by people who knew this man, and they said he was not mentally ill. We need to know why. Why did he decide to resign that morning and then go in with a silence device? It's not about taking people's guns away. Yes, some, because there are some people who shouldn't have them. Our country's in trouble. Our kids are getting shot in schools. I'm a grandmother, and I prayed all year that our grandkids would come home from school alive. I prayed as soon as I heard what building, and that was a municipality in Beach, that everyone here would go home to their loved ones that work for us and do a fantastic job working for us. And I feel it's my responsibility, and it's everyone else's, to keep you all safe as best we can. And I appreciate your difference of opinion. I really do. In our group, a lot of us own guns. But if we got a choice between our kids' lives, our friends' lives, our family, and our loved ones' lives over, we have to do something. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay. Mark.
breakfast for their employees on May the 22nd. It was very well attended. And I think it was well perceived. I think it was enjoyed by everybody, and we're going to try and do something similar throughout the course of the year. I have sent out a message to all of you that on June 19th, that we will be having an open house here at Town Hall at the Bostic Gym, and
What time?
6 o'clock, and we'll put it out to the public as well. It's a kind of a meet your administration. We're going to have tables set up throughout Bostic Gym. Each department will have a table there. Public's going to be able to come in, talk to department heads. If you have questions, don't know what the cost of the Gill Aquatic Center, you'll be able to talk to Parks Department. If you have questions in the town manager's office, building department, planning, we'll all have tables set up, and you'll be welcome to come in and talk. And we've actually talked about possibly even purchasing maybe hot dogs and buns. That way people have got something to eat and some water and stuff. But it's more of a chance for the public to come and get to know the town's administration. And I've gotten some responses back from some of you. Mr. Pato's requested to have a table there, and I have one available for him, and anybody else that wants one's more than welcome to have one. But we think it's a good opportunity for the public to come in and meet us, to be honest with you, especially as new as a lot of us are. We may have questions back at you. So, like I said, I think that's one of the things that a lot of us have truly talked about. We really do welcome the public's input on what we can do better to serve them. So we've got that going. The other thing I wanted to ask the council for consensus to move forward. As you know, last year we entered an agreement with the Indiana Lions to allow them to play basketball in our facility. They've been struggling to meet some attendance issues, obviously. Some of it's probably marketing issues. And they've asked if I would pen a letter showing the town's support of the Indiana Lions so they could take it to local businesses and show that the town is in fact a partner of the Indiana Lions, that we do support what they're trying to do here, and make a go of it in the ABA and have Danville as a home base. I think if you look, and it's my opinion, they could have picked anywhere to take their basketball team, and they chose to come to us. And I think that's quite a feat. I'd like to see us support them as much as we possibly can. So I'm seeking the council's consensus to move forward with penning them a letter.
Absolutely, in my opinion. Everybody else? We're good. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. And if you'll look forward, I'll send Betty the information on our open house. And we've got some other ideas that we're batting around in department head meetings. We may actually seek some public input on how we can improve our website to make it more user-friendly. That's probably one of the, I don't know if it's a transparency issue, but we've had a lot of issues where people have struggled to navigate our website. So
Is Will involved in that?
he is indeed. So what we'd like to do is.
5 minutes, Will.
So what we'd like to do is maybe get some public input on what they're looking for when they come to our website, what would make their life easier to navigate through and go that way. So those are just some of the things that we've been batting around as department heads.
Great.
That's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Department heads, I see several here. Anybody want to chime in, or you want to wait for 2 weeks? Moving around. Jenny?
I just want to thank the management team, the department heads, my staff, as we converted to Office 365. We had a few challenges. The department heads worked a lot of hours Memorial Weekend. And I just want to thank everybody. We had a wonderful opening of the Danville Pool this year. I want to thank Will for his hard work down there. It's a holiday weekend, and everybody was on point and here to help and a phone call away. So, and I want to thank One Choice as well, because we all worked very well together. So, and I want to let you guys know, Brenda and I are leaving Sunday for the Indiana League of Municipal Clerk Treasurers for the conference. So Brenda and I will be out next week. You will be in good hands with Courtney and my team. I'm just a phone call or a text or an email away. I'll have my laptop with me and be working from the conference. But I wanted to let you guys know we will be out next week. That's all I have.
Tom? Dennis?
Mrs. Carolyn, I want to let you know I admire your courage for bringing this up, but what strikes a chord with me is a statement you made that could benefit the world, our country, and especially our town, is I appreciate your difference of opinion. So thank you for making that statement.
Congratulations to the class of 2019. Another one in the books. All right, 4 more to go. All right, claim docket. I know we just got that, so if you want to take a minute to go through this real quickly. I know you had also emailed it to us earlier.
I did, yes, and I'm sorry for the delay just with the conversion and issues we were having. My staff, everybody was hands-on this afternoon. It's incredible we got it done. So I want to thank Brenda and Courtney and Seth. Everybody was flying around this afternoon and worked through lunch and stayed here tonight. So I want to be sure and thank them. If you guys have any questions, please ask.
I'm almost done. Claim docket. What's the pleasure of the council? Sit here another 5 minutes and look at each other.
Move to approve.
A motion to approve the claim docket? Second. And I have a second. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Claim docket is passed. Move to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion, second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye.